I'm Seamus. Thank you so much for coming.
You've got a great cause worth fighting for. I couldn't wait to get here. That said, I expected more people.
So far, there's only the two of us.
But we're highly motivated.
Well, it's a start.
Some people I knew already were dear friends of mine, like myself, and just my stupid opinion.
Lots of interesting things. This is absolutely abominable, and the RCMP are really in the shit here, and they know it.
Hi, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. But I think it's time. that I needed to speak up.
The following program is brought to you in living
Something watched on TV, horror movie, we shut it off. We can't shut this off. Every time we close our eyes, the horror always turns on. So I know for myself, I close the eyes, get out of the bitch, my parents getting shot.
Trying to piece together. Story.
Let's have a look at this. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to try shit because I was really angry. Really angry. I'm getting really pissed now. I'll preface this by saying I'm strongly urging all of the victims in this, the victims' families, against the RCMP, and I would just love to have the RCMP discovered. I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure I'll go ahead and
Mounted police and their stories of their courage, stories of their lives filled with hazard, romance, and adventure. The RCMP story this week, Gunslinger.
Oh my goodness, how many windows do I have open? All right, good evening. Sorry, it's dinner time. I never seem to pick a good time. Happy April Fool's Day. Perhaps this will all make a fool out of me. Never know. All right. Who all do we have in here? 21 of you, it looks like. Awesome. We have, I don't know what's going on with the echo thing. That's really strange because there's zip on my end. Meaning I don't have any windows open. I don't have YouTube open in the background, nothing. And my microphone is muted. So, not sure. Maybe somebody fixed something so that it pisses people off, because frankly, if I was listening to echo, I'd get pissed off too. Maybe I'll have to redo my intro. I don't know. That's not making any sense. And it only seems to work echo sometimes for some people. Nancy, good evening. Blue nose. Not an April Fool's joke? Well, We'll see yet. Oh dear, good evening. Oh dear has a new video, I believe showcasing, of course, the staging of whatever happened down in Enfield. The discrepancies of uniforms and blue helmets and camouflage helmets and blue there sometimes and sometimes standing on doorways. Please go, be sure, check out down below links. Also, any information anybody ever has, please ship it on because we need all the help we can get. Even the most insignificant thing, you can think it's tiny, turns out to be very relevant. Good evening, Green Bastard. Good to hear you're doing well, sir. Sherry Trace, first live one. I'm glad you were able to make it. Awesome. How many people getting notifications? Nosy Scotian. Is anybody having problems with the notification stuff? Nosy Scotian, Aussie Cat. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Okay, the echo. Ashley's got the echo. My Lord. Hey, Jen, how's it happening? Getting feedback. Okay, Green Bastard got echo as well. Christiana. Good day. Hope all is well. Good afternoon. It's still good afternoon down there. So good afternoon to you. Yes, I must look like I always have lots of coffees. I don't know what's with my little guy today. Are you okay, sir? One moment. How's it happening? No. What happens when you get old, eh? I think maybe he's just having a bad day. Nancy. Intro has echo. Okay, says Aussie. It's live. You have 2 intros going at the same time. How is that possible? Like, seriously, I have no windows open. I don't get how that could be, but anyways, my apologies for those of you who had to endure. It's live. You have 2 intros going at the same time. I hear the echo on my end, but it's tolerable. My apologies, my sincerest apologies. See, and then it just disappears. I don't know what the deal is. Nikki, hello. Linda. D-Link seems to be fired up. Requires email verification to chat. Good to see you. Okay, so I do have some alternative ways of I stream on D-Live also. That link is below. I never check it, but I would say it would be wise to subscribe to something just on the off chance that I get kicked, which is a very good likelihood. I think, though, there are powers much stronger than I helping to keep this alive on a technical end. So I'll just say thank you very much to you. Otherwise, I think I may have already bit the biscuit a long time ago. Just tuning in is working. No echo. All right. Howdy, Lynn. Countryside. To live in the country. You got notified. Awesome. Notification work for a change. Also, excellent. SCDHL. Bill Gates is trolling your intro, says Todd, our resident comedian. Todd ought to be a comedian, eh? He's a really funny guy. Are you okay, sir? Get notification on D-Live, but not on YouTube. Can't win for losing, right? What do you do? Now, we went through the article the other day. There's a variety of things that I'd like to go through, but I wanted to touch on, most importantly, what is on the thumbnail. What is on the thumbnail is something that, strangely enough, I had read earlier in the day, disappeared from the article, that I read to you guys. I believe at the 20-minute mark, I had pulled up the Michael Penny. Yeah, I got to speak really fast. Or okay, we'll get on there. No, it doesn't really work well with me. But super happy to have you on board. You can always, everybody knows, you can always come back. Just shut her down, and then come back. Mossad gives me, oh, wow, you get Mossad. Mossad is giving you the notifications. Awesome. Harles. Space Explorer. Okay, sorry, Space. Sorry, Michael. It's dinner time. I know I'm broadcasting at the wrong time. There is a certain somebody who is in here. I would like if you could possibly send me a message to let me know if you can comment, because I'm not seeing any comment from you, and I know that you have had major issues. A lot of tech problems people are having, getting kicked out of the stream and not being able to comment. I don't know. Anyway, my apologies. I also got a message in email the other day from somebody who said that they left a comment, and they're like, "Oh, my comment was wrong, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to add further clarification to it. I never got the comment." I'm like, no. Whatever. This is what you have to put up with. So my apologies to those of you who have technical difficulties on your end, on behalf of YouTube, Gmail, Alphabet Soup, Alphabet, all of that good stuff. Probably more attributable towards Ottawa. Okay, so we have confirmation that they cannot comment. Wonderful. The problem with this kind of stuff is that it causes people to shut down, because they're like, well, that person isn't interacting with me, or that they don't care, and that's bullshit, because that's not true at all. I do care. I want to see things. I'm missing things. It's not as though I'm the best at getting back on things, on emails and things like that, but I obviously want to try and see as much and get as much information. Plus, I want all of you to read everybody else's comments, which is really important. There is one person I'm not getting comments from as well. Very interesting. Yeah, there's a few, I've been told. Hello, new here. Oh no, I am going to foul up the name. Everybody knows that I have the worst pronunciation, so Abantika. I hope I've got that okay. Welcome. Only can see it in my notification. Yes, I get a lot of notifications of messages, but then I have to take like a little screenshot of it. But then you only get the little partial piece, right? Seems that the rest of it. Watch later. Oh, the chat has disappeared. Excellent. They are concerned with content. Good stuff. I'm so sorry. Like, see, this is a very real issue. It's not some, clown in Calgary who's saying to you that there's a lot of technical problems. There are a lot of technical problems for everybody. Everybody. Are you okay? Let's see. Sorry, there was a follow-up comment to that. It's saying there's only 12 people watching. Well, there's 42. So never believe the numbers on YouTube. And the 42 I'm seeing will be much higher than that. Never believe it. The likes always stall out. It's pretty wonderful. Fuck them, man. Who cares? I don't care about your friggin' numbers. You don't make my day. Now, what I wanted to talk about was the 43. Okay, you've got 43 on your end. Space Explorer. Oh, I can also I can never see the chat when I tune in later. I assume that you have to watch it live to see the chat. Excellent. Well, at least I'm not going completely out of my gourd, right? Oh, there we go. There goes some people. I guess I pissed them off. Now, the article that I read the other day, I made reference to the fact that there were 2 judges. Now, the reason that I said take careful note of tax, I forget the female judge's lawyer, the first judge that was sitting on this inconsequential nothing burger case, which seems to be rather a very huge burger. Just like Paul and the Razors. Four lawyers. Now we have 2 judges. And something about being psychic. I like this psychic business that goes on, you know. Like they know to show up at gas stations. Gas stations everywhere. Well, they knew that he needed gas, of course. Now, detect my facetiousness. Everybody must know by now I am extremely, extremely sarcastic. The reason that I was pointing that out was because of the article that I had read earlier in the day. Earlier in the day, I like to use this handy dandy tool, Archive. I use a little app here. It allows me to archive on all of the following sites. I predominantly use archive.is, archive.org. The interesting thing I've noted is that archive.is entries are being deleted. Archive.org seems to keep track of them, because when I hit this handy dandy little button here, it archives on all of them. Archive.is, somehow these entries disappear, but archive.org seems to stay safe. This is archive.org for now. So this is myself and other individuals, which I strongly recommend highly that you archive absolutely everything every time you go. I understand that it takes time. I do get that. It is a pain in the ass. You know, say, for instance, I'll show you how that works. Okay? You have to, usually on mine, you have to hit it twice. So it'll sit there and it'll load. It'll load and it will load. And it will take a long time. And it is kind of a pain in the ass. I get it. Archive.is will tell me if the snapshot looks obsolete, you can save again. I will click save again, and it will start saving. This is very important. Archive.org is currently saving. So there are now 10 captures here, to which archive.is, which should have the exact same count, will not, or fairly close. It will not. Now, if we go back in time to the original article, which was archived, there were several different incarnations of this. They alternate over time. What I'm going to talk about, I hope I don't lose people in trying to explain, because I have a difficult time explaining things. I am always talking. Sorry? Fuck guy takes over my paste option every time. .org didn't work. It doesn't work on every website. Some websites are specifically canceled by different news organizations. A National Post, I believe, will not work with archive.org. You know, there's different little things that they have. But be persistent. Give it a try. Let's see what's going on with these ones. Okay, so this is now archived. This is still archiving. It takes time, but it's worth it. Trust me. Because if people want to go back and they want to look at things, you have to also save the link, because if the article happens to get deleted, then you need to have a link. But you can also get apps that will detect if an article has been archived before, which is handy. So you can actually find something that may have been deleted, but it's still in the DNS, kind of. But once it gets out of the DNS, then you're really up the creek without a paddle, because you have to actually have the link to the archived article. Now, when I go back in time to the original article, so this is the first one, there was an update 6 minutes ago. Paragraph 7. Is this the one here? No, this is interesting. Okay. This will demonstrate somewhat what I'm talking about. So if I look at the 2:36 my time article of this, paragraph 7 is missing in this one. We go to the next version. Paragraph 7 is the one that I have highlighted about the recusal. Now, this is an important point. Please bear with me and give me your feedback. So this is the next one, I believe. I don't have the time listed here. Sounds like some issues. Now, here we go with this. This is the next one. But they have introductions of this. How is this possible? That should not be that way. But this is what's happening. They are trying to confuse people by giving you information ahead of time. Because you'll read an article. I want you to picture this, literally. You'll read an article. Somebody else will read an article at a different time, and it will have conflicting data. Anybody who's familiar with the Sharon McClellan part, excellent, super big help to all of us. Thank you ever so much for helping with the sweatshirts and things. Those of you who have not joined the family Facebook walk that is seeking justice on the 18th, please do so. Maybe somebody can throw, one of the mods can throw a link out there. I would appreciate it. And Sharon has been very helpful on a multitude of ends. Sharon witnessed what happened down in Onslow, and she was very clear about what she saw, and she's never deviated from that. Now, that isn't to say the media didn't take what she said and change it around, and quite horrifically, I might add. Elizabeth McMillan and Gillian Findlay of CBC, who both participated in the Fifth Estate special, the one that you all saw on TV. There was also an accompanying article that came out at the same time. They both conducted the interview, the same interview. Sharon said, gray Hyundai. Okay, picture this in your mind. Gray Hyundai. We have two other individuals there, Gillian and Elizabeth. Okay, they write different things. Sorry, one is a written article. The written article, which came out at the same time, said one thing, which was, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but those of you who are familiar will correct me, specify what it is. We can look it up. But one says something to the effect of unidentified vehicle. The other one says unmarked cruiser. But Sharon, third person in the conversation, eyewitness, right, says, I saw a gray Hyundai, something that she has never deviated from. However, two people there, same time, hear something totally different, and it got There was a couple of people who took this on, who I won't say who they are specifically, because that's up to them whether they wish to identify themselves or not, but did a massive amount of a massive amount to try to rectify this comment so that it would say and reflect exactly what Sharon saw. Now, CBC put up a massive stink, and still to this day has, from the ombudsman to the executive producer of CBC News, I believe, to the executive producer of CBC Fifth Estate, to Gillian Findlay. It has been a war to just get the gray Hyundai comment from the eyewitness, the only person who saw it, not the people who write the articles or do the fancy dancy. No, the person who saw it. Even though those two people were there, even though those two people both participated in both events, as in the written article and the CBC Fifth Estate TV show, said different things than the eyewitness. This is to confuse. This is why they put up such a stink, in my opinion. Because they want people to sit at the cooler. Picture yourself at the cooler, discussing with somebody, hey, listen, I saw CBC Fifth Estate the other night, and this is what I heard the eyewitness said. So one says, unidentified cruiser. Unmarked cruiser, sorry. And the other one says unidentified vehicle or unmarked vehicle or some whatever. Neither of which is accurate. Both of which are deceptive and untrue. Now you have two people at the water cooler who have been exposed to different versions of the same information, who are trying to have a conversation, and they're sitting there like, well, I could have sworn I heard this. No, you didn't hear that. Do you follow what I'm saying? Meanwhile, the truth has been buried. Right? Are you following? Trying to discredit witness. Absolutely. There's tons of things here going on. So this is illustrative of the point that I'm speaking. When you do these alterations in articles, small little changes, you have the people at the water cooler, I'm being figurative, having a disagreement. And they're like, well, I could have sworn. Even yourself, myself, I'm like, well, you know, I've read that in an article before. And I have. Because it was there. But then they change it a little bit. They get rid of certain things. Like what I had there in the thumbnail. Like here. Because I had read this in the morning. Because it was there. Depending on whether the discussion, and this is not the only time, I have lots of examples of it. So if they want to keep playing these games, I'm going to start hitting them with all of them. And there's tons. So they better start telling the truth and quit playing funny games with everybody. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know who's doing it. Somebody is doing this. It's not reserved for CBC. It's not global. We're talking about it all over the place. Misinformation. People who become confused. Average Joes like you and me, Janes, who just are like, but I read that. I know I read it. And then you go back and you're like, no, it's not there. And it's not that they're fixing an error. Please note those two articles that I referred to. Those are in response to, directly in response to the gray Hyundai incident. CBC has now invented make-work projects on how to tell the truth. But the fact is they continue to fuck everybody over. This must cease immediately. It is deplorable. And it's transparent if you know what you're looking for. Sometimes the video of the lengthy interview, those of you who may remember that, and you can prove this, you can prove it. Why? Because I've documented it all live, and you can use archive.org. The lengthy interview, do you remember, with Darren Campbell that never appeared? When I ran through that article that appeared on the Monday, there was no video, a zero video. There was zero video until somewhere in the neighborhood of about a month later, when somebody made me aware of it. I checked archive.org. But they would take it in, they put it in sometimes, and sometimes they would take it out, and sometimes they put it in, sometimes they would take it out. A lot of funny games. But if you watch the live stream, I read the article that day when it came out. No video. So I actually had a conversation with somebody, and I'm like, no, there was no video to the best of my knowledge. And I went back and actually looked at the video that I had done, the live stream, not recorded, live. And sure enough, you can actually see throughout the article, zero video hanging around at the bottom. Not only did they do that, they backdated it. So when you highlight over top of it, it says how many months ago it was made. So they had actually inserted it to begin with. We'll see an example of that in this article, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Same thing, exactly. Do you know how many incarnations of Clinton Ellison's video we had? Three. There are 3 different ones I have on my computer that I am aware of, shortened every time by approximately 1 minute. Clinton 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, I called them. And when I pointed out in the second video, they have removed all of the business to do with the RCMP. So for those people that were unfamiliar with the video the first time around, I said, watch carefully, because you can see the clipping that is done by the background. Do you know what they did? They shortened the video by a further minute and changed the aspect so you can't watch the background. Very interesting. I've shown that before. This is called deception. Deception, to the best of my knowledge, if we look in the thesaurus, and my grasp of the English language is still reasonable, is dishonesty. It is called lying. You do not do that. Why would one want to deceive other people? Intentionally. Not mistake. I remember I had a discussion with somebody in the media, prominent media, national media, very early on in this case, not maybe somebody that you may be thinking. And I said to them, did you know about the video being shortened? This was very early on. And they said to me, oh, no, the video is not shortened. They probably shortened it because of they needed that for TV. I said, no, they didn't. That was on YouTube. There are no commercials. There is no need to fit that in a time slot. They wanted to remove the reference to the RCMP. That journalist was shocked. And they were stuttering. National. Writing for Globe and Mail. Now, this is the level of deception that has been going on from the beginning for a dead man. Right? And I have been trying to enlighten people to these ideas because it's not something I am unaware of. I have been aware of this bullshit for years. Frankly, I'm tired of watching it. And in this case, there are a lot of people that are paying attention because they know this could be their family next time around. Nobody does these kinds of things to another human being with a good conscience. If you are aware of it, you do what you can to rectify it. Will not let you share a link. Now, I am not blaming individual journalists. In one case, I can particularly, actually a couple of cases, I can particularly cite that they had full well knowledge, and I have proof of what they were doing. I'm not saying that that occurs all the time. It could be somebody higher than them. And frankly, in some cases here, who are we talking about? The same wing of the same, or different wings of the same beast, right? CBC, kind of government attached. Hey, buddy, you okay? But it's not reserved for government publicly funded institutions. This exists across mainstream media in general. Mainstream media is owned by a very select group of people, very small. They are conglomerates. They are massive. They are not independent. They get their money from somebody. And they know. Don't bite the hand that feeds them. And if you go really, really tinfoily, and I'm not saying that this is true. I'm not saying that this is true. But I'm not aware of everything that I have said in the past, whatever, since this story, somebody actually calculated how much I've done live streaming, which frankly was pretty scary. Because at that point in time, I had done over 400 hours of live streaming on this story. And they actually worked out the math, which means that it came to, I can't remember, 18 days, 18 full hour, like 24-hour days to watch all of it. 40 days at 8 hours a day. And I'm not saying that as a bragger, because any of you who know me, I'm not self-promoting. I don't frankly care. I have a friend, and as a result, I have made a lot of good friends. I have made a lot of friends with families. I'm very proud to stand up and help represent something that is important and help my friend. And all of these people, as a result, have become my friends. Except for the shitbags, to which I know there are some in there. Now, frankly, or in here, that's good. You have a clean conscience, it's going to come out. It will come out. We're all going to find out your dirty laundry. Get off that train before it starts coming down on you. Would be wise. The connections that people have are really crazy. It is disgusting. It is absolutely, hello to you, sir. Get her to comment. Yeah, okay, sorry. Julie, I will address what you wrote. Now, this comment in here, I promise. Hopefully, I will remember my memory. This comment is very important. I want you to think about this, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Which disappeared. Remember the video that I did, and I was remembering the article in the morning, and that's why I said take careful note of the judge's name, the first judge. And it wasn't just because there was a second judge. It was the reference to the possibility of a third judge. Now, I don't understand the judicial process entirely. Definitely don't. I am not a lawyer. However, I do have a lot of people in my family who are lawyers, so I am somewhat versed in law. I have family members who were judges. Now, depending on whether the discussion, this is the closed door meeting. The closed door meeting that Mr. Locklear, very famous lawyer from Toronto, who is Lisa Banfield's lawyer, very high priced, not a small fry. He actually attended because usually Zeta is in attendance for him. Go away. Zeta is usually in attendance. For a plea agreement, Locklear came. Now, that can or cannot be unusual. I'm not exactly sure. But the plea is generally going to be a not guilty. Why? Again, one has to ask themselves, this is a nothing burger case. You can bury this one pretty quick just by pleading out. Not guilty, or sorry, guilty. And you're going to walk with probably one of these. As in, no jail time, maybe a fine, maybe not. And it's a misdemeanor. So it doesn't go on your criminal record, per se. Instead, we're getting cases that are drug out, like Mr. Paul Wortman, dad to the supposed sole perpetrator of what happened, the dead man, Wortman. Locklear comes in. This is the second judge. That's Judge Tax. Depending on whether the discussion touches on evidence in this private meeting, Tax said the judge involved might be required to recuse themselves from presiding over a trial, should it proceed that way. Now, I want you to sit and think about that for a moment. How is it that Judge Tax happens to know that there may be a recusal happening down the line? This is very interesting. Why do judges recuse themselves? I noticed this with another case. I've noticed this with a few things the RCMP do. Lawyers, judges seem to disappear. We've already had Bejan in the case of the warrants. Why did he disappear? The idea that he was on the involved on the 18th or 19th simply violates logic. If he was involved on the 18th or 19th and he was evacuated, he probably would never sit on the case to begin with. But he did. Why? Because he thought, I don't have any personal involvement with this. He sits for one case, suddenly, poof, gone. We have Halfpenny Macquarie rolling. That's to do with the reductions, right? Conflict of interest. Bang, you've got it. You guys have got it. Okay. The other reason would be maybe there's a death in the family. Something like that. But they tell you the discussion touches on evidence. Then the judge will have to recuse themselves. Why would that possibly be? In the future, might be required. Are these people Karnak? Do they happen to know? Like gas stations? Let's just go to gas stations. He's going to run out of gas. Really? Use the logical mind. All of these things are logic puzzles. So though you may quickly read through things, and I'm not saying you guys are or naming or pointing fingers. I miss a ton of stuff all the time. So though we may read through something quickly, there is something there. And if we go slowly and just take a breath and absorb that, it makes a little bit more sense. Conflict of interest because of evidence. What might be a conflict of interest? Conflict of interest may, and I like to make sure that I don't say anything definitively. I never do, because you never know anything. In fact, philosophy teaches you that. Nothing is true. Real truth. Except therefore I am. Yeah, that's one philosopher's argument. Now, could these judges have had dealings, like possibly Mr. Bégin has had dealings with something to do with Mr. Wardman? Could it be that the judge, who they do not know because that docket has not come up yet, and frankly, I would have thought it would have been Judge Tax, judge number 2, but apparently there's a judge number 3 coming in somewhere down the line. Could it be that judge number 3 might have had involvement or interaction as a lawyer previous to becoming a judge with Lisa Banfield? And why might that be? Why is it that Lisa Banfield is so vitally important to the detriment of 23 families? The families of 23, I should say. Right? To the citizens of Nova Scotia, to the citizens of Canada, to you, to me. Why is it that this one individual is so important? Why do we have Sharpies? Why do we have, at last count, and I'll have to double check that, 12 Jengas? They're dropping like flies. Politicians going down, 12 of them now, to the best of my knowledge. Don't quote me on it. But there was a recent couple. I don't believe in coincidence. Everything has an explanation. Now, could people want to spend time with their families? Yes. How many times have you heard a politician say, you know, I'm just going away from this scene because I want to spend time with my family? Bullshit. By and large. It means that they're running away fast. 12. Including a premier, a justice minister for Nova Scotia, lots of councillors, members of provincial legislature, members of parliament. And the ones that you see standing, I suspect, are going to do the Jenga as well. Because we're not done with this. Remember when I did the first video about that? Watch them fall, because they will continue to fall. Hello, Kendall. So, what is it exactly that a judge in the future may know about Lisa Banfield. Of course, if you go to the current article of this story, paragraph 7 is missing. I liked how they updated it on the same date. Thank you to that family member who pointed that out, because of course they've got all these wonderful make-work projects of how to tell the truth. Commissions over here that they've set up. Oh, we're going to, do you remember the articles? Somebody can link those here, please, if they can. About how to tell the truth. They've got all these fancy, dancy, smancy ways. I think I've got one or two put aside here in my notes. Give me one moment. Oh yes, I should show that. Here is one. We've reviewed before a little bit. Oh my, why are they doing this stuff? There's a lot of RCMP stuff in the news too. These people have a big problem, a very big problem. And if we even knew the half of it, they're all over the place, but that's the thing, they lose you in it. The stew. Uh-oh. I have a visitor. Give me one moment, please. Can't seem to find the other one. It's somewhere in here, I believe. These make-work projects on how to tell the truth. Now, the second article, sadly, I can't seem to find. Explains on all of their methods that they're going to go through, specifically in CBC, on how to tell the truth. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. You don't need to do that. It doesn't require a lot. You don't have to have a good memory. It doesn't require anybody to get a special job. You just tell the truth. That's it. You don't deceive. You don't change. The article that is currently up reads as follows. Posted March 30th. Truth. Last updated March 30th. Untrue. Let's see what March 30th. The date, please. March 30th is a Tuesday. Is that correct? Let's find a Wednesday. On Wednesday, Dax thanked the Crown and defense for returning to court on such short notice. Crown prosecutor Mark Hamira and defense counsel Jessica Zita, there's the normal person who appears for this stuff, who works for Locklear, told the court they had plans to discuss issues related to the case teleconference next week. Evening, Francis. Hey, how's it going? They're doing all kinds of hard work, Sharon. Everybody's doing such hard work. Awesome. Now, was that published on March 30th, as the article indicates? The answer to that is no. Last updated March 31st. Oh, Seamus, you're just being trivial. No, I am not. These are easy things to update. If you go in and you write new details in the article, you indicate when it is. And you put a time, funnily enough, to which is honest. Instead, we're going to have, well, we told you that, but somehow we were psychic and we knew exactly what happened today. Yesterday. I don't want to lose focus on that very, very important statement. This is an extremely important statement. Important enough that they needed to remove it. And one needs to look at that with logic and ponder it deeply. Why was it that Mr. Locklear needed to have a private meeting? To the point that it said, listen to his words very carefully, read between the lines. I think it would be very helpful process, Locklear said, if I were to tell you why, I think you'd very quickly agree with me. I'm not trying to be difficult, believe me. But he doesn't want to tell you why. He wants that in closed chambers, away from everybody's what? Like what Sharon used? Eyes. They don't want you to know. What is it that they don't want you to know? What is it that would be so explainable? If I look at this logically, I would say a very good likelihood is that Lisa Banfield may, in fact, be, at the bare minimum, a confidential informant. Why do I say that? Because judges that may, in the future, like they can predict it, Carney, have actually dealt with Lisa Banfield. Or she's something bigger. There is something much bigger. There is something that lends me to agree that that is a very strong possibility. The evidence is there right in front of you. Exactly. Beijing has involvement in this. Now, without giving away too much at this point in time, because I need to be very careful and sure, I don't like people saying that I am tinfoil. I believe in fact and evidence. My family has believed in that for generations. Generations. Many barristers and solicitors and judges in my family. That's it. We do. Now, evidence, very important. My childhood was not a normal one. We debated. That was what I did for fun. Sat around tables and just beat the hell out of each other verbally. And spanked each other down. I remember the first time I beat my dad. It was a memorable day. He was a very good trial lawyer. Very good. You would very quickly agree with me. Judge Theodore Tax reconsidered his decision very quickly, within a matter of hours. He said, yeah, I'll have the meeting with you. We better do this behind closed doors. Something they know, you and I don't know. The families of 23 who seek justice when in respect to a dead man that involves millions and millions of dollars and tech garbage galore. To the point you can't comment on this video. For a dead man. Really? What is it that they know that you don't know? Let's go to this other little interesting nugget here. Where is it? We're going to have another one, another pre-trial meeting, April 14th. For a $50 case, slap on the wrist. That's why you have law clear. Come in. That's a net loss. A net loss. Where is it here? Upon further reflection. Again, this statement may or may not be in the current one. Who knows? Oh, do you see? Oh, my apologies. Do you see how this is missing? Let's try this one, sorry. This is the current version. Okay, so it's there. Thank you. I like that. Looks like truth to me. Upon further reflection, the court is of the view that such a request is not in conformance with the rules of court or the open court's principle, which is law. Jennifer Stairs, Director of Communication for who? The Nova Scotia Judiciary, said in an email. They changed it. Somebody came along, it looks like, and changed the judge's decision. Why? This is a summary conviction. For those of you who are unfamiliar with misdemeanor offenses, it is a nothing burger. Where is Ms. Banfield or Beth or whatever the hell they wanted to call her? Why did the machine suddenly craft an image for a person who is accused of crimes, may have participated that night, may or may not have participated in that night, but at the very least supplied ammunition to her, quote, abuser, as did her brothers, which once again violates logic. Her brothers must, I don't know, in the warrants they seem to talk about that she's abused and that they have knowledge that she's abused, or it indicates that. We don't have the names because they want to Sharpie those names out. 16 of them. But it does seem like they're all reading from the same script. $800 worth of gas, previously abused, etc., etc., etc. Who came along and changed this? And why? I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on something I propose theoretically as a possibility. Do you believe that Lisa Banfield, who is now currently on trial, was abused? Would you take the word of somebody who is accused of crimes? Usually the court takes that into consideration. They don't reflect highly upon it, even though this person has not been convicted of anything. They have to keep an impartial mind, an open mind. But everybody tries to, I wish I had a pie plate. That's what I need, a pie plate, to cover their ass. And come up with all kinds of reasons and alibis as to their poor behavior, criminal behavior. But it seems like the government may have had full well knowledge and participated in helping that come about, the pie plate, i.e., all of the other stuff that happened at the beginning. Remember, families wanted to participate in walks, right? Other groups would hold walks at the same time, which didn't seem to conform to seeking justice for their families. It seemed to go with somebody who has now been charged, seemed to further divide people. Very important. Very important to put those shiny things out there, the chum. Vomit. The next part that I want to talk about is really, I have to be very, very careful of. And I don't know if I should discuss. There are things that I have to be careful about. How do I say it? Timing is very important to watch. When do things happen? Charlene does a statement, appeals to public, as anybody would. I would like some help. I would like your help. Please help me to find peace. Give us some evidence, whatever you have. Immediately the next day, stories roll out, right? This is what I'm talking about. Distractions, all kinds of things. Meet Constable Hubley, the officer who saved the day. Right? You remember? Timing. Always. Now, we had a hearing. This is going to sound very tinfoil, by the way. Extremely tinfoil. We had a hearing. So tinfoil alert. Tinfoil alert. And I am saying, I'll just try and lay out the facts. That's it. We had a hearing for Lisa Banfield, right? To which then she had to go back. And not in person. We don't know where the hell she is. Who does? Who has seen her? Have any of the families spoken to her? Well, that's right. She doesn't speak to them. She sues them. Feeling very much like a victim. To me, I would take that as acting as a perpetrator. But that's just me. What happened? I've got to be careful with the days here. There was a certain story. You guys remember a video that came out? Do you remember a video that came out down there? A 28-second long video. Then a few days later, the full version of that video popped out. Do you remember that? Yes. I may have an idea who's paying it. Maybe. Look deeper. Now, I like to have definitive proof because then definitive. Hard on paper. I believe in that. I believe in evidence. But I am when I say fairly certain, you have to read between the lines. That means that's as close to proof as you're going to get without the proof. And I feel, hopefully throughout this process, you, who may not be aware of who I am, have earned your trust. I don't, despite what some people say, speak tinfoil. What have I suggested that is tinfoil? What have I suggested that has been disproven? It's like I said on a certain program. Blah, 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 conspiracy. I said, excuse me? Name me one thing I have said that is grossly incorrect, that I have not come back and said, oh my goodness, I've made a mistake here. I think I've made 4 minor errors, to which one of them I feel grossly bad about because it did hurt somebody's feelings. But that was an accident. And we're all entitled to accidents. There was a video that popped out. I can't. That would be, it's there. The answers are beneath the surface. Who would be some groups that may be interested in the story? That'll narrow it down. There's a particular individual representing one of those groups. Now, I don't want you running around speculating and stuff like that because that's dangerous. But without the hard proof, I don't want to say it to you because that's unfair. Right? I want to bring you as much truth as I can because my goal throughout this whole process has not been to raise money for anything, to self-glorify. Frankly, I don't give a fuck. I'm good in life. I would like to go out to my ranch and, I don't know, hang out by the fire. That seems kind of relaxing, as opposed to this, which, frankly, a lot of people have participated in a great deal, whether they play for the right side or wrong side. There was a tape. Has anybody addressed the tape? Maybe. You've got the answer in there. There's an individual particularly. And it's not one, funnily enough, that many people are aware of, but ties many pieces together. If I'm right. In the big machine that's working in the background. Now, all right, hoodies. Hoodies and t-shirts. Yay. These are going like wild cakes. I think they're pretty much gone. So, congratulations to those of you who purchased something that did not raise money for anybody, that took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears by a lot of people, including family, right? including Sharon, including other individuals, which I won't name because I don't think that that's fair. I don't believe in calling out people unless they particularly say it's okay. But you know who you are. You've done a lot of hard work, and we all owe you a massive debt of gratitude. Just as I and everybody else owe all of you, the ones that are actively participating and not mining data for other ends in here. Very good. Excellent. Truth seekers. Love it. Love it. So happy. Now, there was a tape that surfaced. It was 28 seconds long. Do you guys remember? It was surfaced by some individuals. It has some very interesting timing. There was another longer version that surfaced then. Let's watch a news story, and maybe without me saying anything, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because I don't want to sound tinfoily. If I can get my computer to load. Oh, not responding. That's excellent, even though I have no windows open. Jesus. Right. Let's watch a certain program.
To the other news now, and we're...
Yeah, it's a nothing story, right? Lisa's a nothing story. Only came out one place to the best of my knowledge. Let's listen. Watch carefully. Watch carefully.
To the other news now, and we're getting a clearer picture tonight of that altercation between a Halifax police officer and a black man in the city last week. An extended video of the incident has been posted online, and while it shows a lot more of what happened, the incident itself remains very divisive.
Divisive. Divide. Distract. Common tactics. Shiny things.
CTV's Bruce Frisco continues our coverage.
Running almost 8 minutes, the expanded version of the video shows an altercation between two men at a vehicle in the parking lot. It'll be another 2.5 minutes before the officer arrives. Already on his radio, his gun comes out seconds later, and the order is unmistakable. That doesn't happen. A minute later, the exchange everyone's talking about. Just a few seconds later, the man is gone. No shots fired.
Drawing your weapon in that situation, to me, is not my first and best response.
And Brian Johnston would know. The pastor at Zion United Baptist in Truro served 30 years as a Halifax police officer before retiring in 2010. Having watched the video, he's concluded it was not HRP's finest moment.
This looks bad for any African Nova Scotian male. I mean, if police are going to automatically arrive at a situation where we are present and draw weapons, that's bad.
I think he did a very good job.
The Police Association is standing by the member, noting officers seized 2 pounds of crack cocaine and a loaded handgun from one of the vehicles at the scene. The group is also disappointed with the chief, who acknowledged the officer used what appeared to be, in his words, inappropriate and unacceptable comments during the arrest.
I understand the chief is somewhat limited because it's before the courts, but there is a lot of information here that would not jeopardize this case that could in fact come out to the public.
Police have launched an internal investigation in the matter, although a number of groups are calling for the Serious Incident Response Team to take over. The man in charge of that organization tells CTV News it's not going to happen because swearing by an officer is not part of its mandate. He suggested the Police Complaints Commissioner would be better suited, but both offices were dealing with an organized phone blitz today, which successfully filled at least one voicemail system before 2 p.m. In the end, 3 arrests with 1 charged. The recording ends at 7:42, apparently before police backup eventually arrived.
And as for the man who was actually charged in that incident, 30-year-old Derek Corion Allison remains in custody. A bail hearing coming up on April the 1st. And we should tell you, Steve, almost 10,000 views so far on that video since it was posted this morning.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. CTV's Bruce Frisco for us in Halifax.
On that video, one that goes from 28 seconds to, what was it, 8 minutes and change. Same person. I guess must have been mailed 2 different versions. Possible. Very possible. Very possible. I'm not going to point fingers. I'll just leave it with you. Think about it. Read, go back, find the origins. Who all is involved? There are some common faces and names. And I'm not just talking about the video and where that is. But I did notice some of you picked up on it right away. Nothing to do with what's going on. Back to the video. So we now have 3 minutes, 13 seconds. Well, it looks like there's another 53 seconds. 53 seconds left. 3 minutes over a very divisive issue. Do not mistaken me, ever. I do not get into the swamp. I do not participate in the swamp. I understand the swamp. I understand people get used for purposes much greater than themselves. Sad. Stories change. Look at also the outside stories that are going on at the same time. There's a certain story somewhere. Seems to have relevance to that. People are people. Shitbags are shitbags and should be called out, as in racists. But don't try to distract people from other things. Probably many of you may get upset at me for saying what I'm saying. Some of you know me more personally in here than others. I know you know the truth of who I am and my family. Race doesn't come into the mix. Let's watch the rest of the 53-second. You devote 6 times the amount to the divisive topic, which only changed in a matter of days. Let's continue.
There has been an interesting legal twist in the case against the common-law spouse of the man responsible for killing 22 people in Nova Scotia. During an appearance today, the lawyer for Lisa Banfield argued something had come up, and he requested a rare judicial pre-trial meeting before entering a plea. After earlier agreeing to the request, the judge has now reconsidered. In a statement today, the judiciary's Director of Communication says the judge now feels the request does not conform with the rules of the court or the open court principle, so the matter is back on the docket for tomorrow. Lisa Banfield is one of 3 people charged with unlawfully transferring ammunition to the gunman before his rampage last April. The police have said she and the others had no prior knowledge of the killer's plans. To the other news now, and we're getting...
I'll leave it with you. You can look at Facebook posts. They help you. A lot of copy paste going on. I wish we, as group that wishes to help the 23, to which the media does not, of course, want to honor one particular family's request, because, of course, again, logically, you know you do that to your friends, right? You just say, you know, to hell with whatever you want. I'm going to decide. No, you wouldn't. But the families that represent the 23, I would love, the people that represent you, me, all of you, the people in the Facebook group, I would love to have the kind of phone blitz and etc. that came out like that. Certain phone lines got plugged up that was even against their own mandate. What is it again? The shit does. Bonging out again. Whole 53 seconds. But what happens right before? Look carefully. You will see something. And I'm not saying that that is. Look at the players in the story and their connections. Do you follow me? I hope so. Because frankly, I don't like anybody being used. Nobody. Black, brown, any race, religion, creed, sexuality, whatever. Don't fuck with people. Very wrong. You treat everybody, hopefully, well, because we're all children of God. And for those of you who don't believe in such a thing, I have total respect for you, because you're on the same plane as I am. We're all people. The 23 families are people. Oh, I think it's very relevant. Marionettes, strings that get pulled. Stop it. Not nice to do to anybody. Why don't we watch one other video of how I don't know the background of this individual. I have studied them a little bit now because I have stumbled across them in the last few days. I'm quite amazed by this individual. This is how policing is truly done, if I'm not missing something. I want you to listen to him very carefully. Perhaps familiarize himself with some of his other stuff. And if I find, or you find more importantly, because this is a group effort, sharing our knowledge, such a great thing. Wow, the power. That I'm incorrect about this individual, and this individual is a bad person, I want to know. But it seems as though they're not. Let's go to this. It is 23 minutes long. I frankly think it's 23 minutes well spent. 23. Interesting that. Listen to this sheriff's message closely and see what kind of balls he's got and how he believes in the law. The law we all believe in too, the image of it.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. On the first day of employment at the sheriff's office, and we hire once a month, I meet with the men and women, and I said, I expect you to be honest, ethical, and moral all the time. I expect you to treat people like you'd want your mother treated. And if you do that, you'll have a wonderful career here. And then I go on to explain that, you know, if you work for a fast food restaurant and they catch you sliding pizzas out the back door to their friends, they will terminate your employment and run you off. But there's a difference. If we find you violating the law at the sheriff's office, we will also terminate your employment, but we will lock you up in the county jail. We're held to a higher standard. You can't police a community if you don't hold yourself to a higher standard than you expect of the people from the community. Then I look at them and I say, do you understand what I said? And I have them all say, yes, sir, I understand. These folks forgot. They forgot what they were taught. They obviously didn't pay any attention to my warning. And as a result, we locked these 3 deputies up on Friday night. And here's how it started. These 3 folks were on our crime suppression team. We were receiving complaints and actually fears of gang activity and narcotics activity in the community, and they were sent there to try to keep the community safe, stop the narcotics dealing, and as a result, break up the gang activity. While patrolling in the Winter Haven or the Central District area, they came upon a suspect who ran a red light, John Rosinski, who has been with us for about 3.5 years, stopped the vehicle. He was backed up by Jamal Lawson and Garrett Cook. When they stopped, they asked for permission to search the vehicle, which was denied, which is traditionally what our suspects do. We called a canine. The canine did a search and alerted to drugs. They searched the vehicle and they found in the trunk of the vehicle marijuana and alprazolam. controlled substances. So they arrested the suspect, and in the suspect's pocket, it was a female. She had more marijuana in small quantities and $723. When they wrote in their affidavit to put her in jail, and John Rosinski was the arresting deputy, they wrote that they seized a large quantity of cash. So they wrote it in the arrest affidavit, and they also wrote it in their initial report. So this was on the 21st of December. They take the suspect to jail. They have a day off. They come back to work on the 23rd of December, where John writes his report and he processes evidence, and he puts several pieces of evidence into property and evidence. But they don't put any cash, any money into property and evidence. What the three of them talk about on the 23rd is, uh-oh, the money's missing. They counted it. All three of them at some point in time counted the money and determined it was $723. And then I'll fast forward to the investigation. Rosinski said Lawson had the money. Lawson said he didn't have the money. Rosinski had the money, and Garrett Cook said, I never had the money, but they all admitted counting the money. So they decided on the 23rd of December, we've really got a problem here. We're missing money. We've lost the $723. They decided at that point what they would do is they would all kick in and replace the money, which is inappropriate, by the way. But they never did. And they did not go to their supervisor and say, we lost the money. So time goes on. Rosinski even has a conversation and says, you know, I'm afraid before this is over with, I'm going to get arrested for theft. So they still do nothing. Now let's advance into March, when our suspect's felony charges are reduced to misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Once that happens, our suspect calls property and evidence and said, hey, I'd like to have my cell phone and my money back. She said it was somewhere under $730. She didn't know exactly how much. Property and evidence refers her back to the district and to the supervisors where the event occurred. She calls and talks to what we call the RID, Regional Intake Detective. That detective was filling in actually for the RID detective, and she said, look, I would like my money back. So he looks, he pulls up the reports, and he says, we'll get back to you. He calls Rosinski and says, I don't see any money here. Rosinski gets panicked. Rosinski starts talking to his buddies, and I'm giving you the 30,000 foot view because and you can see in the press release, they have different versions of this conversation. In the meantime, Rosinski also calls down to P&E, property and evidence. The property and evidence lady goes, no, there's no mention of any money in any of that property and evidence that was seized and ultimately we have. But the property and evidence lady went forward and searched all around to see if maybe a piece of evidence got logged by mistake under the wrong case number, and she found none. And then Rosinski says, when he called the lady at P&E, he said, call me back on your personal cell phone. So they had this conversation, and he said, did anybody hear you talking to me? Just forget this conversation occurred. She hangs the phone up and she says to herself, that doesn't sound right. So she goes to her sergeant. Her sergeant goes to Rosinski's sergeant. Rosinski's sergeant calls him in and goes, what is this all about? The money. Don't worry about it, Sarge. We got it covered. I'm writing a supplement report. And the sergeant says, stop. I don't know what you're talking about, but stop what you're doing. Everybody did what was right when it came to their attention by our suspect, who is now the victim of a theft. But these three folks. So our Rositzky sergeant gets with his supervision. We start a criminal investigation immediately. This all happens from last Monday. Last Monday's when the lady made the initial request for her money back. We do an investigation, and our detectives and supervisors are simply the very best, did what they were supposed to do. When they saw something that wasn't right, they immediately investigated. And within 5 days of this being first brought to our attention and us sorting through and talking to the supervisors and the P&E and completing an investigation, on Friday night, we locked all three of these deputies up. Now, I can tell you I've been with the sheriff's office my entire adult life. And from memory, I can only remember 2 other occasions in almost 50 years where we've arrested more than one deputy at a time. And that was, both of those occasions were back in the 1970s. This is the first time ever that we criminally charged 3 deputies. And it wasn't just for the event, it was for the cover-up. They attempted a cover-up, and they all 3 committed criminal charges or criminal violation of Florida statutes. Let it be clear that I commend everyone from the suspect who made the initial report to the property and evidence lady who said this call's not right, to the supervisors on the ground when they first became aware, to the investigating supervisors and command staff for doing the right thing, because that's what we do here, the right thing. If this group of people had done the right thing, we would have done the right thing. They did the wrong thing, we still did the right thing. We locked them up and in jails where they belong. So let me give you some background. As a result of this horrific, totally illegal, in violation of all the policies conduct, we will go back to each of these folks and audit every report they ever wrote that dealt with an arrest or seizure of any property. It will take us some period of time. And here's my promise to the community, and here's my promise to these 3 folks. If we find evidence of any other criminal event, we will go back to your house and we will arrest you again and we will put you in jail. At this point in time, obviously, we've not had time to do that audit because we were working all week long on arresting them in the first place. But we took this a step further. Command staff from the sheriff's office, supervisors from the sheriff's office, contacted the state attorney's office and requested that the criminal charges against the suspect be dropped because we can't vouch for their credibility any longer. We also promised to the state attorney's office that we would audit their case reports and the cases they've made. And certainly that will be a decision by the state attorney's office as to whether they accept their testimony on any pending cases. But I am mad beyond words that these 3 folks have impugned their reputation, and more importantly, of the other 1,000+ deputies that work here with their criminal conduct. I'm going to request, when I have a conversation with our state attorney, that if there's any negotiated pleas at all requires them to spend some period of time in jail. In Polk County vernacular, I'm pissed. They know it. I want the community to know it. We've also made arrangements through our now victim to not only drop the charges, but we will be working with our legal affairs department and our finance department to give her money back. And certainly will go back as part of any criminal prosecution on them to try to get us reimbursed. We don't know where the money is. We highly suspect that one of the three of them stole it, that it was never lost. We think that's just a lie along the way. But which of the three of them ultimately got the money, we don't know. It appears to us from everything we can put together from all of these convoluted stories that John Rosinski was the last one with the money before it disappeared. And you just don't lose $723 in small bills. So I'm pretty hot about that, as you can well imagine. Well, Michaela Butler, who's 25 and a detention deputy, she decides to go to some kind of an event.
Now, this is not the first time that Sheriff Grady has done this. I did see a comment in here that Polk County is a disaster. I would be very interested in learning more. I'm only recently acquainted with Sheriff Grady. I did do a bit of background research. He's going to talk about another person who was charged here, corrections officer. He has previously charged other people in his police force. He is very accountable by all outward appearances. He has press conferences on a regular basis. He wraps up crimes very rapidly. He's been the sheriff there for a long time. This is Polk County, Florida. I looked at the murder rate last year in Polk County, which is slightly smaller than Nova Scotia in terms of population. They had 6 murders there. He has a clearance rate of, since he has been a sheriff, every single homicide except for 2. And they know exactly who the 2 people are, or the people that murdered those 2 people, except for that the friends of the victims won't step forward. And he actually openly says that quite often. If you come forward, I will solve your homicides. It's on you. It's your responsibility, not because I haven't done my job. Now, I find this highly accountable. We'll listen to the rest of this press conference, but from what limited familiarity I have with it, again, anybody who knows anything about Sheriff Grady, and if I'm totally off base, fair enough. Again, this is a different system that they have in the United States. Remember, they elect their judges, to which, funnily enough, my family was always in approval of, including judges that were appointed. They always believed in elected judges and elected officials in terms of policing. Now, of course, political corruption is rampant, and we know that. And politics and policing shouldn't mix. But it seems to be a better system than what we have here, which is not community policing, nothing about accountability. You can see that there is a very noticeable difference between the RCMP, CERT, etc., and the way that this man operates. And he is a no bullshit kind of guy, from what I understand. He really takes people to task, and he doesn't care. He's going to go back and audit every single case that those people participated in. And he publicly humiliates people. The stocks, tomatoes I talk about. That's it right there. This guy is far more, in my opinion, the policing system that he's got going down there, which I'm sure has flaws, and I'm sure that he has flaws, is far better than the rampant corruption, bureaucratic boondoggles. I don't think he's got billion-dollar lawsuits against him. He doesn't have a, quote, systemic problem. Systemic, which is a very dangerous title to wash into, because you can't ever go after something that's systemic. Oh, yeah. You know that guy, Mr. Systemic. No. I'm very much about personal, individuals. If you're a scumbag, call you out. Let's get it done. Out of here. Right? There is such a thing as, developing an atmosphere within those people around them. Call them out. Get rid of them like this guy does. Anyway, I would be more than interested in learning more from those of you. I did see the one comment in here, which is interesting. So if that person has more knowledge about this man, but it's the idea. Listen, I'm going to take you to task. I don't care. I will come back. I will charge you with more. If you fuck up in my police department, you better be prepared to get hit with a really heavy stick. And nobody in the community is going to want you anymore. And he does that with criminals all over the place. He does press conferences on a very regular basis. Impressive. Not emails. He sits there and takes questions. There's another thing. He sits there and takes questions until they're done. Remember how I've talked about that before? How they just decide, oh, we're leaving, we're finished here. No more questions now. This guy actually sits there and waits. To the best of my knowledge, I've watched a bunch of his press conferences now over the last 5-6 days, which would probably be more than a bunch to other people. And he'll sit there, question. Again, maybe they're handpicking the reporters. I don't know. He seemed to take one reporter on. I remember that. And then he sits there and he's like, are there any more questions? Are you satisfied? Okay, then I'm done. He has some of the lowest crime rates that I know of. Again, I'll have to go through the stats. I'm very big about that kind of stuff. In the United States, this is the United States. Gun rampant, mass murders happening everywhere. And he'll wrap them up fast. I watched him with a triple homicide. He had it done in under a week. Now, I hope he's not planting evidence or doing bad things, but I don't think so. I haven't gone through the convictions on those cases yet. Pretty amazing. And I think that develops an atmosphere systemically, if we want to use that word, and promotes good values. Officers who really do want to do the best job that they can do, who want to work for the people, who believe in their community. That's amazing. Honesty. Like, this is a foreign concept to everybody. All you have to do is tell the truth. All you have to do is be a good person. Wow, shocking. Shocking. You don't need to set up special groups within the media on how to tell the truth. You just do it. You want to be transparent? You just are. Different. It's very, very different. But of course, he's not running a paramilitary organization that has no No other like it in the world. It is the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, as according to Commissioner Paulson. Oh my God. You want to see corruption? Dig through that guy. Lied in his interview to get hired about charges that he had against him. And they found him out and they still hired him. And guess what? He became commissioner. And he appointed a lot of people who are still around. And he still has a lot of influence. All very transparent if you know what you're looking for.
Well, Michaela Butler, who's 25 and a detention deputy, she decides to go to some kind of an event over the weekend down south with some friends, and she gets arrested for DUI. She's a detention deputy. She was driving erratically on State Road 31 in DeSoto County. She ran off of the roadway. She crossed back over the center line, and a deputy from DeSoto County stopped her. I applaud the deputy for enforcing the law and taking her into custody for driving under the influence. She is suspended pending investigation. And obviously, if our investigation supports their investigation, that's also a termination event. I've said it a lot. I'll say it again. We enjoy trust from this community because we hold our deputies accountable and to a higher standard. I appreciate the fact that our deputies and supervisors and employees, support staff, as soon as they got information about wrongdoing, they brought it to our attention, and we're always going to do the right thing. And this is one more exception, or one more example of doing the right thing. So with that, do you have any questions? I don't know what else I can tell you. I've told you everything that I know. Yes, ma'am.
I know that you said John Rosinski was with the department for 3.5 years. The other two, do you have?
Jamal was with the department 3.5 years, and Garrett Cook 5 years. Garrett Cook and Jamal Lawson were also on the SWAT team.
Ooh. He doesn't care who you are. He's taking you down. And there are other examples. This guy has lots of stuff. He does this all the time. I like this guy because, frankly, you want to fuck around in his community, you are scrubbing toilets and everybody's knowing about it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is Lisa Banfield. Here's where she works. He says where people work, by the way. So, you know, that may be doxing in a way, because some of these people haven't been convicted. But mind you, he's been doing it now for, I think he's been the sheriff for almost 2 decades. Keeps getting reelected. Very low crime rate in a state that has a lot of crime. 768,000 people live in under his jurisdiction. He does porn raids, kiddie porn. He's really big into, you know, getting kids help. This stuff is pretty awesome. Dealing with his police force all the time. You want to mess around, man? I am going to spank you, and I will come back. I will recharge you. I will keep charging you. And that does something to people who might be tempted to do something on the wrong side. Maybe.
Sheriff, do you believe that money was drug money that the woman had on her? Or you have no way to prove any of that?
Well, that was the original charges because it was in small bills, and small bills are what we see on street sales of drugs. However, once again, that money was taken from her and never made into property and evidence. And it's the craziest thing in the world because they wrote in their report that they took the money. They wrote in the affidavit that they took the money, and then they didn't put the money in evidence. It just makes no sense. Initially, you would think, well, missing money, maybe it's true. Well, if it was true, all they had to do was go to their sergeant and say, we lost the money, we dropped the money, whatever, little bird got the money. But that's not what happened. They had this grand conspiracy from the day they discovered it missing. Well, I suggest to you, it's not missing, it's stolen. And we're not absolutely sure which of the three got it. We suspect the strongest that John, because he was the last one seen with the money. But at the end of the day, makes no difference. They're all in trouble. They're all arrested. They all resigned. We didn't have to go through the termination process with them. They resigned on Friday night upon their arrest.
Did they say they were sorry or anything like that?
Again, if that doesn't show guilt, they just quit. Right? He knows he's doing a thorough job. And those guys, what are they going to show? They're going to show their face in public? They go to the jail. Wow. Can you imagine if this is Brenda Lucky? Can you imagine? We have to get rid of the police force as it is, as this paramilitary bureaucracy garbage. But could you imagine? Nova Scotia, the 23, if this guy was in charge. Ouch. You want to fuck around? Cert? Oh, boom. People are getting charged. I don't care. You're losing your jobs, your careers. Here's your name. Here's your face. Lisa, oh yeah. No, we know your name. Here's where she works. Wow. Oh my. Jenga. Yeah, Jenga. It's a mentality.
They said a lot of things when we put those handcuffs on them. They found out getting handcuffs put on you is not near as exciting as putting handcuffs on people who commit crime. But our detectives were really pleased to put handcuffs on the three of them.
It seems like a lack of risk for such a relatively small amount of money.
They didn't just risk their job, they risked their reputation. They risk any future opportunities to work in law enforcement. They risk everything over a tiny amount of money.
Can you talk about how it feels, I guess, for you all? Because now, what if people are hesitant about other officers doing this?
Well, do you know, you're exactly right. There's always going to be a few people going, I told you. Well, here, let me tell you something. The system worked. The checks and balance worked. And you can suspect people, and that's people, but I can tell you clearly and unequivocally, I've got over 1,000 deputies here working in detention, law enforcement, and the courts. I've got support staff working here that are honest, ethical, moral, and they do the right thing every day. And every time, without exception, we find someone that violates the law. We investigate them and we arrest them. And I go a step further. I hold a press conference. We're going to be transparent. I could have arrested them and then hoped that you didn't hear about it.
Oh, this part I want you to pay attention to because it's so true. It is 100% true. He could have buried this one. $723. Who cares? It's a nothing burger. He's going to spend tons of money and tons of man hours going back through all of their cases. And he could have buried it. It could have just disappeared. Nobody would have known. And the cops would have been like, yay, you know, you can do this kind of stuff. It's okay. Nobody's going to do anything to you. Shit isn't going to hold you responsible. Lucky and Bergerman and Campbell and Leather and all those clowns aren't going to hold me responsible. I can just do whatever I want. That's how you get crime within the law enforcement community. Those officers are proud to wear their badge. I'm sure you go down there and you talk to any of those officers, they're not part of an organization where people aren't afraid of them. Afraid of them if they're a criminal. That's quite possible. But no, they respect them. A higher standard, he says. Not just regular people, higher. I hold you to a higher account. That is pretty amazing. Listen to this part. This part is good.
To be transparent. I could have arrested them and then hoped that you didn't hear about it. That's not the way we do things here. We lead from the front. If we're going to hold this community accountable, we're going to hold ourselves more accountable.
And as for auditing the reports, how long could that possibly take? I know you said a period of time, but it seems like a lot.
Well, two of them has 3.5 years of experience and one has 5 years experience. Fortunately, things are computerized. So we'll go in and all of their calls for service don't require an arrest or a seizure. So we'll start at the top and work backwards. And if it takes, 3 months, 6 months, however long it takes, that's just how long it'll take. But we want to make sure that we're comfortable with there's not been another episode of this. And if there has been, they'll be held accountable for that as well. But that's the only way we can be comfortable. And that's the only way the community can be comfortable, is for us to do a complete and thorough audit of all of their work. And it'll be much easier than it would have been back in the day because everything's computerized.
You said that at one point they tried to replace the money, kick in and replace the money, which obviously you said is inappropriate. Did they ever do that, or did they just say they were going to?
Well, Jamal Lawson, within the last week when this thing started scurrying around, he sent Rosinski $500 through his Apple Pay. Rosinski obviously had to put it in his account because that's how it moves. Rosinski was doing a supplement report, and he also dummied up a swear-to, that's part of his criminal charges, a swear-to affidavit. And that's when we said time out. So whether or not he would have put the money in evidence or not, we don't know, because he never had a chance to, because we stopped it. We were involved in it. So Jamal is out $500 more that Rosinski has in his account. But we'll let them deal with that. We're dealing with the criminal part. I don't know, maybe Jamal will want to come back and file a theft charge on him later if he doesn't get his $500 back. We'll take the report. We'll file another charge. But right now it appears to be a civil engagement involved in the middle of a criminal event. Anything else? If we find that they have violated other criminal charges, we'll send out another press release. Thank you. God bless you. We'll see you next time.
That's amazing. But I'd be curious to hear any of your research. Anybody who knows anything, please leave comments below. Yeah, and just even listening to him, I can feel it. Maybe I'm totally getting duped, which would be very unfortunate, but I feel his sincerity. I feel his commitment to honesty and integrity and the people in his community, because he lives there. He loves it. And he cares about his men and women on his job, but he's not going to tolerate bullshit from any avenue. I liked how he said, listen, even if the guy who's getting charged doesn't get his money back, maybe he wants to charge him, the other guy. I'll come in and do that too. Let's rack up the charges on these goofs. And they're going to go to jail and they're not going to get treated too well, right? As prisoners who are former police officers, ouch. Who has a need for a cert in this case? Don't even need it. Oops, somebody just lost their job. Anyway, just wanted to bring some things up. Think about what I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of court shenanigans going on. Lots of court shenanigans. And there's a reason, as there is to all of this whole boondoggle fraud that is being perpetrated. Mass trauma. No. Over. It's finished. We're done. And all of you that participated, yeah, you're going to lose your jobs too. Jenga. And maybe our community likewise will hold them accountable. Tomatoes. God bless you all. Oh, thank you very much. I did get a song. Somebody wrote a beautiful song. It is religious. So I'm going to see if I can find somebody. It's our brother Paul who wrote it, but it was dedicated to the 23. Beautiful song. Now I'm hoping, I believe there was some music that accompanied it, but I never received that, sadly. So maybe, I'm not sure how to go about that, but maybe we can get something done up, and if there's not an objection by the family or they're interested in it, it's quite a moving piece. It's I can read you the lyrics. I wonder if he would be upset. I don't want to say something that's out of line. Let's see. For some 80 years and an ocean of tears, had to call on my God to save me. From torments and fears came my faith to my ears, and God knows, Johnny come lately. But the truth will be screamed from sea to sea for the families of the 23, who now rest in the hands of Jesus, the Lamb, free from darkness, lies, and fables. Fear not, little flock, take a look at the clock. God's promises are kept. Our souls and those of loved ones lost, He promised to protect. Stand fast, my friends, the nightmare ends. As soon as the appointed time, Satan's kingdom is coming down. But God's children will be fine. Jesus helped us comfort those who had suffered just like you. The Spirit and the Word agree. I know your word is true. In this true north strong and free. From St. John to BC, from the memory of the 23, the truth shall set us free. He closes it with, blessed are they who are persecuted from righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. God bless you all. Take good care. Be good to your fellow man. And God bless the 23. Thanks very much.